Hello, everybody. It's week 3 of RLCS Season 9, and the narratives for these teams are really starting to take shape. And I think week 2 was definitely a critical week for the rest of the season. Obviously, last year there were less games per season, but I feel like this week had a lot of big games that are, even if they're it's a less percentage of the season that one game means, there's still a lot that going to mean a big deal coming in the season. So let's get into it. Starting with NA. Last week, yeah, it was interesting. But I'll get into the predictions for this week. Cloud9 versus Flight. I shouldn't have to be excited and nervous about this game as a Cloud9 fan. Um, yeah, they've really done pretty poorly. I think it was 2-9 over their past 11 games in RLCS, which is dreadful. And if they lose to Flight, their season's done. I think this is, if they even want a chance of making Worlds, they have to win this week. Now, obviously, yeah, of course you want to win any week, but this is the teller game. If they drop this game to Flight, the season's over, and I think they need to do something to this roster. And it's sad to say because I think Cloud9 should be able to come away with this win. They really should be able to. But I don't know if they will. They've looked really poor. Their possession has looked off, and their attack's been flopping around. Because I was thinking the other day, man, is it just passing metas might be sort of dead right now at the moment? But it's really not. There's so many teams that do it so well, but Cloud9's just not as good at it anymore. So I'm going to pick Cloud9 for this one, but if they do lose it, it's bad news. But Cloud9 should be able to take it. Rogue, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. My season results so far. I'm 15-5 after last week, so not too bad, 75% percentage. But let's get Rogue, Susquehanna, Sonics. What a game this is going to be. The Sonics obviously just upset Space Station Gaming, and Space Station Gaming were honestly looking like one of the best teams in NA. But I believe it was on the CJ show, the coach for Space Station said it wasn't necessarily Susquehanna playing well. It was just that Space Station missed way too many shots, and they just didn't play up to their own expectations. And I have to agree, I really do think Space Station looked better than Sonics for most of the series. They just came away with a few more mistakes than Sonics, and they weren't as clinical in front of goal. But I don't think Sonics are super great, but I don't think Rogue is either. Because Rogue just took Cloud9 to a Game 5 and lost 3-0 to G2 in Week 1. So neither of these teams are superstars, but they're both on the brink of being bottom middle table to mid table. And so I think if whichever team gets the win here will really be looking for competing for a spot to make it into Worlds later on. And I think it will be the Susquehanna Sonics here, because they obviously just beat Space Station Gaming, one of the best teams in the world at the moment, and Rogue's still struggling. First Killer I think is really good. I just did a video on him earlier in the week. I think he is spectacular, and Kurnovi's kind of just average, and Wonder's kind of disappointed me this season. So as a whole, I think Susquehanna Sonics are more consistent, even if the skill ceiling isn't as high. So I am going to go with Sonics for this one. And it's exciting to be hey, these rival series teams, I'm actually picking them over some of the more veteran teams now, instead of at the beginning of the season where we were kind of just probably not. G2 Flight, Flight's second game of the day, and I think G2 is going to take this one. This one shouldn't be a problem for them. G2 are definitely looking like one of the more threatening teams in the league at the moment. They've only dropped one game this season so far against Pittsburgh Knights. But other than that, they've looked really dominating throughout the rest of the season. They swept Rogue Week 1. So G2 should be able to come away with a win here. Hopefully Flight will sneak away with that Cloud9 game for them, or else it'll be a disappointing 0-2 week. But Energy United, and this one has the potential for an upset. I'm not saying it's very high potential. I don't think it'll happen. I'm definitely saying Energy's going to come away with a win. But United a good week 1 against Cloud9, but then kind of didn't against Ghost last week. They only scored in the final game. But they did look good, I think. They played well, and I just think there wasn't enough offensive conversion. And they definitely have a chance this week of stealing a few games, but I definitely think Energy will come away with it. Energy against Flight didn't look super dominating. They dominated the scoreboard and everything, but they didn't, I don't know, they just don't look like that World Championship team quite yet. But they're getting better than Week 1 when they faced Susquehanna Sonics and they took it to Game 5. Hopefully Justin's going to start clicking some more, because he has the individual talent. Eventually, he's going to have an amazing series. It's just going to happen. He's one of the best players in the world. You can't keep this guy down forever. So even now, when he's playing his worst, I mean it's not even that bad. He's just not playing superstar levels. You know what I mean? His team's still getting 3-0 wins. Next up, Pittsburgh Knights Ghost Gaming. This is another huge matchup because Pittsburgh Knights really need a rebound here after barely sneaking away with Flight in week 1 and then losing 3-1 to G2 last week. If they can get a win here, their season gets back on track and maybe the critics stop doubting them. But they do look rough, and their offense struggled in the final 3 games of the series against G2. All of them were losses. They only scored 0 goals, 1 goal, 1 goal. So very disappointing offensive output from a team that should be able to put up more goals on the scoreboard. And these guys have the ability to do that. And once they can start doing that, they'll really be a team to mess with, that can't be messed with. But I don't know if it's going to happen against Ghost. I'm really impressed with Ghost this season. Ghost lost to Space Station week 1 and swept E United last week. So I do think Ghost Gaming will come away with this one. And I think it will be exciting though. I think these two teams, Ghost is one of the best offensive teams in the league at the moment, I think. Even if they're not necessarily dominating. Like week 1, they only scored an average of 1 goal a game. But then last week they scored 3 goals, and then 1 goal in the first game. But they're definitely looking more and more offensively dominant as the season goes on. And I really like their roster. And they're underrated, I think. Like, people haven't really been talking about them much. But I think they're a solid team to be up there in the top 4 for the season. And I think Ghost Gaming will come away to win that one. Next up, Energy Space Station Gaming, one of the biggest games of the season so far. Space Station need a win here, coming back against Susquehanna Sonics. And I think they can do it. Like, these guys, Johnny Boy's stream just did a 3v3 scrim stream the other day of Space Station versus Flight. And it was really cool because you got to see the player's perspective more than you would in RLCS, where it kind of like rotates between different viewing angles. Well, on Johnny Boy's stream, he kept it on the players longer. And their mechanics, they just look so smooth. They're so good at getting the passes to each other. This team is really, really good. I don't know if they'll be able to beat NRG. Whoever comes away with it here, huge match. Big final week game of the week for NRG and Space Station. And I think NRG will come away with it here for a 2-0 day. Moving into EU, Dignitas vs Singularity. I'm super happy with Dignitas, man. Like, I've always liked this team, and I know people didn't like them for a little bit because like they were so good. Kind of like the Patriots, no one likes them. Even though I don't mind them either. I kind of like that feel of a dynasty. I'm glad these guys are on the rebound after that one down year. Now, Violent Panda, everyone's talking about him as an early MVP candidate. And Astral, young player who's coming to his own, really becoming a superstar in the league. Yukio, after a really down season, is bouncing back, becoming a really, really solid player. And this roster is playing really well. They're one of the best passing teams in the league. They have really good transition from defense to offense, I believe. And they're very good at handling defensive pressure. And I think that's going to give them an easy win here over Singularity, even though Singularity just came off of a huge upset against Vitality. And it's disappointing for Vitality, but still, Singularity, you got to give them credit where it's due. And they have a chance here. Singularity, if they can beat Vitality, they can beat either of their teams this week, but it is definitely a tough week for Vitality. If you look at their schedule so far, Singularity's played Reciprocity, Vitality, and then this week they're playing Dignitas and Mouse. Those are arguably the 4 best teams in Europe you have to start the season off against. So from here, it can only get easier. And if they can come away with 2 huge wins here, or even 1-1, huge week for them. I think they'll be very happy with that. But I definitely think Dignitas will come away with the win here. Next up, Monaco Endpoint. I'm still not super impressed with Endpoint this season. They just got swept by Barcelona 3-0. But they're showing signs of promise. They put up 3 goals in the first game against Barcelona. But other than that, they only scored once in the next 2 games. These guys, they're not looking super strong. I think there's definitely the potential for them to take out Monaco here because Monaco, although a solid team, and I definitely rate them, they're not top of the table. They're a very solid mid-table team, and one can really come out and prove something here this week, but I think Monaco will take it. I really like this roster, and Tigre is still looking to get some of the offensive production going. I don't actually remember if he scored his first goal this week or not, but it was looking rough for a while. Next up, Mouse Singularity. Mouse should be able to take this one after a disappointing 3-1 loss to Reciprocity. After watching this one too, kind of the same problems that plagued them against Monaco. Their offense really just couldn't get clicking, and against Reciprocity that's going to cost you. But this week you're playing Singularity, a team who doesn't have quite that same individual power, I don't think, but they just beat Vitality, so it's kind of nerve-wracking. And I think every week as Mouse and Mouse go along, they should be getting better, because one of the biggest problems for this team is just that team chemistry and learning how to manage the ball and control possession and pitch control as a team. They're really struggling with that. Once they can get that going, this team can be great. And I really think this is where they'll kick it off again and go with a solid win over Singularity. Okay, Vitality, they're playing 2 games this week. they're looking to come back and prove they're the dominant kings in Europe. But they have to go through TSM and Barcelona. First off, TSM, who are coming off of a 3-1 loss to Veloce. I'm pretty happy with my chances here at saying Vitality are going to take it, but it is a key game for both teams. TSM lost in Game 5 to Dignitas Week 1, and then lost to Veloce just now. They need to show something here. I don't think they're going to be able to show many signs of life, because I do think Vitality's a much better team than Veloce. Just inherently, the way they play the game, Veloce is good at punishing mistakes, not necessarily creating their own chances as much. And when Vitality come in here and really like suffocate TSM's defense, because TSM's not great at getting those counterattacks, Vitality's really going to dominate and take the series pretty easily. Next up, Reciprocity Veloce. Reciprocity should be able to take this one. Both series for them so far have been 3-1 against Singularity and Mouse. So kind of like the first, I think this is like a really good clash of styles. Veloce obviously more patient, and everyone says, capitalize on those mistakes. While Reciprocity has always been kind of like an inconsistent but super dominant offensive force, that Reciprocity can really make another statement win here and make their claim for the top of the table. It's kind of wide open right now that Vitality lost. Mouse isn't looking super great. Dignitas, while they're winning, hasn't proven against a super great team. So this is a really nice week for Reciprocity to continue their hot start to 3-0. I think they'll do it. Next up, Vitality Barcelona. And this is a big game for both teams as well. Like I was saying, this week has a lot of really big games that'll help shape the narratives for these teams for the weeks to come. Vitality, 1-1. This is a big week for them. If they can take down TSM, they'll look to come into the Barcelona game for a 2-0 week, which will put them back towards the top of the table, looking pretty solid. And I think it will be a struggle for them, though, because Barcelona 3-2'd Veloce and 3-0'd Endpoint. And there's still a lot of debate about how great Barcelona is. And their roster is really not, spectacular, but they're putting together the wins so far. Obviously, it's not against the highest competition, and they don't look super convincing while doing it. So I do think Vitality will be able to come out with the win in the final game of the week. Let's move into my power rankings. For NA, as you can see, G2 is moving up. They're really looking solid. I still haven't moved Energy down. They haven't lost yet. I'm not convinced that they will this week, unless maybe Space Station takes it. If Space Station takes this win, I will gladly move them back up towards the top of the table, because I still believe Space Station is one of the best in the league. And I really do think that right now, those 1 through 4 positions, basically anybody could be anybody. Even though I would have Energy favorites in any of those matchups, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. Like, Space Station could easily go into Energy right now and take them this week. And I really hope they do. I am a Space Station fan for NA next to Cloud9, but now that Cloud9 is disappointing me a little bit. I really like Space Station, and I rate their rosters. They're super, super good players. But at the moment, Ghost Gaming is looking really good offensively. G2 is looking like the team we saw them in the World Finals. And Energy, obviously the reigning champions, still haven't lost, and they're looking for a 2-0 week this week. EU United, Pittsburgh Knights, Rogue, and Susquehanna Sonics, all 4 of those guys I feel like are interchangeable at the moment. They're all either EU and Pittsburgh. EU is just average. Pittsburgh's really disappointing, but they were supposed to be a top tier team. Rogue, I think, is about where they expected to be at the start of the season. And Susquehanna Sonics looking really good after beating Space Station Gaming last week. But I wasn't confident enough to put them over Rogue and Pittsburgh and EU United, simply because I don't think it was Susquehanna Sonics that played super well. It was just Space Station playing bad that week. Cloud9 and Flight, both 0-2. I think in just an individual matchup, which we actually will see this week, that I think Cloud9 should be able to take them. But those are my power rankings for the week. The arrows, of course, symbolizing whether or not they moved up or down. Oh man, I left that white bar there again. How embarrassing. Those top 4 in EU, man, those guys are scary. I think the top 3, I kept Vitality up there because I think they have much greater potential than the rest of the league. And even if they did show a disappointing loss to Singularity, I think they could take Mouse Sports right now, because Mouse is still struggling to get their offense clicking. But Mouse definitely has the potential to break into that top 2, top 3 spot. And then another spot where number 5 through 8 here, I really think these guys are all super interchangeable. Barcelona hasn't looked convincing, but they look solid. I think 5th place is a really solid place for them right now. Veloce, I don't know how they keep sneaking away with the wins, man. They're always just making people pay for their mistakes, even if they're not individually, making amazing plays. The Veloce player, I believe it was Freaky, had a post-game interview where he discussed how they just choked out TSM and knew that TSM wasn't great on offense, so they could really take that space on TSM's field and kind of just like choke them into the victory. Singularity, huge upset against Vitality. They moved up, I believe, 3 spots. I think I had them in last place last week. Huge upset for them. That's awesome. Statement win. They could really come out huge this week if they can also upset Dignitas and Mouse Sports. At most, I can see maybe one happening against Mouse, simply because Mouse has been struggling offensively. And then Monaco, TSM, Endpoint. Monaco's a solid team. I really like them, and they just haven't been putting together as much as they can. Their offense has been struggling a little bit, and that's why they're towards the bottom of the table. But they are better than TSM, I'd say. TSM still really struggling offensively, don't look great, which is kind of what we worried about. In week 1, they showed signs of life, but yeah, they struggled against Veloce really bad. Endpoint, and I think Veloce's one of those gatekeeper teams where if you can beat them, okay, yeah, you can be top of the table. But if you can't beat Veloce, you're just in trouble because their playstyle is so unique, isn't it? Like, it really just shows if you can't beat this playstyle, I don't think you have the elite playmaking ability and solid team play required of an elite team. Endpoint, they're kind of just like, everyone's kind of forgetting about them, I guess. Like, no one really talks about them. They're not super great. Relating Wave, Virtuoso, and Nachitao. None of those guys have really impressed me a ton this season, and it's a shame because I think they could compete with, like, any spot 5 through 10. Like, they could be up there anywhere if they put it together just a little bit more, but they're just not quite there yet. And I hope they can put it together before the end of the season, because I'd hate to see them get relegated. I think these guys have great potential. But yeah, everybody, this is my week predictions and power rankings for the week. I hope you enjoyed. I can't wait for the matches to get started. I'll see you next time.